Alrighty, it is another lovely edition of Inside Z Basketball. Welcome to it. It is definitely powered by BMTV. My name is Kasuli, and on this one, since we are in the election year, all right, we're definitely talking to someone who's been the Chief Executive Officer for Zambia Basketball Federation from the year 2011 until about 2014. And in this one, we're going to talk a lot about governance and just how it is important to run Zambia Basketball Federation. Mr. Otema Musuka.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Good. All right, you've been away from basketball for quite some time, but you've been writing a lot about basketball. How has it been from 2014 to about now that you've laid low from basketball, and this time around you are coming in as one of those people that want to make sure that the elections really go well?
Yes, I think every person that has played a sport, is passionate about the sport.
Great.
I could not have stayed away for too long. One of the reasons why I actually stayed away from active politics within basketball was because of giving room to others to be able to perform their functions without any issues. There are these issues of affiliations. You're affiliated with this camp and that camp. So I find that to be retrogressive for basketball, and that's why I stayed away. My hope was that I could be part of basketball in different capacities.
Great. In a snippet, let's talk about your journey in the administration that you were in from 2011 to 2014.
Prior to me vying for the position of the General Secretary, I was a coach for the University of Zambia Pacers.
All right.
And we had at that time 2 teams and Honeys, but I was specifically more attached to the masculine team.
Okay.
I was in the technical team with Cuthbert Tembo.
All right.
An excellent coach. And after a certain period, I thought that I could, offer myself for leadership. Sure. And I was initially eyeing the position of the president, but I was advised to say the chief executive will be able to give you hands-on.
Sure.
Progressively, I was thinking after general secretary, I would be president, but obviously God had other ideas.
Great.
Yes.
All right. So now let's get into it. Let's talk about what does good governance really mean in basketball.
There are a few words that come, or concepts that come into mind. One of them is transparency.
Transparency.
Good governance has to have transparency. It has to have accountability. And it has to be able to communicate. Yeah. So those 3 areas are what provides good governance. Specifically for basketball, every person who vies for a position within the executive of what we are calling now ZBF. Because, when I was there, it was called ZBA.
Yeah.
We transitioned to a federation.
From an association.
But essentially, every person that vies for these positions is considered to be a public officer.
Great.
Yeah, so they are required to not perform any criminal activities. They must perform national duties on behalf of the many Zambians out there. Yes.
So understanding the federation, what is the role of the Zambia Basketball Federation?
The role of the Zambia Basketball Federation is that it's the principal institution in Zambia that is mandated through its constitution and through FIBA, and recognized through the National Sports Council to be able to administer the affairs of basketball. And their reach goes wider than even sometimes the federation would, basically indicate that they do. Anything basketball is really and truly supposed to be ZBF.
Sure.
Yes.
Let's talk about the relationship between the federation itself, the PBAs, and of course coaches, players, and other stakeholders. How should it be? How should the relationship be between the federation itself, the PBAs, coaches, and players?
The current constitution of the ZBF provides that the PBAs are the ones that bring into life what you're calling the ZBF executive, which is presided over by a president. The general secretary is one who is not elected. In my time, the general secretary was elected. Now, the general secretary is nominated and appointed by the executive, as it were.
Yes.
So there is the council, which is basically what ushers into office by way of votes.
Sure.
There's chairpersons of the PBAs and one other individual, whether it's Secretary General, provide 2 votes, from my understanding. And so their role is that they be able to validate what you're calling the executive. In short, the executive must come from the same PBAs to be able to be considered for office.
Great.
And so the relationship is that of the PBAs and their affiliates. You know, the other affiliates that could be attached to the council, depending on what is provided in the constitution. But these are what give the mandate for the executive to be able to do what they do. Now, there is sometimes a misunderstanding, because the executive then is what provides policy guidance in terms of the way the federation should go forward. So those 2 distinct roles are very important. The executive really is beholden to the entities that put them into office.
Great.
Yes.
So, but you've already mentioned the issue of elections. But before we get to the elections, let's talk about the challenges today in Zambian basketball. What are the biggest challenges today in Zambian basketball?
The biggest challenge, and it has been there for a considerable time, is that we're dealing with a population of 21 million people.
Sure.
Out of that 21 million people, there are a number of youthful persons of age that could be considered athletes. You know, they play basketball. So a federation must have the resources to capture this population and be able to provide facilities for them to be able to play. We must also be mindful of the history of the development of the sport. After the privatization, liberalization of the economy, much of the structures that basketball had with the smaller population were giving away to other institutions, churches, sword, and all those things. So when we talk about that relationship, we need to look at the challenge of playing the sport. The basketball itself on the market is not a cheap, product. Most of the ones that are found are either indoor or outdoor. Most of the arenas that we play at international level are not outdoor, yet they're indoor. So there are those challenges of having a place where our players would play. And this is one of the reasons why I think if you look at the strategic plans that ZBF and ZBA in the past have tried to come up with, have tried to address that particular challenge. The other challenge is we need a credible cadre or group of persons that are committed to basketball, that provide transparent leadership. In this instance, audited accounts, you provide financials for the resources that you're entrusted to. Because to the corporate world, we are supposed to be able to present ourselves as a credible institution that finances can go into. And maybe at some time we could talk in detail on what those things are.
Yes. Alrighty, just in case you're just joining us, this is Inside Z Basketball, and with me here is Mr. Otema Musuka, who ran as the SG for Zambian Basketball. That was in 2011 to 2014. In this year, we are having elections on the 18th of July, which is just a few weeks from now. So we're talking about governance in Zambian basketball. So we continue this time around, and let's get into elections. It's an election year, all right? So now, what qualities should the stakeholders, the PBAs, look for when electing the federation?
I think one of the clear ways that any leadership at any level. It's also very interesting that we are going to national elections, and we also, as a federation, are going through elections. We mirror that approach.
Sure.
You need a credible person with a track record. The track record could be by way of activities around basketball that person has done, or a record in a particular sector that basketball would benefit from.
Sure.
So it's not limited to saying a person who was a coach or a player, but anyone with a passion for basketball. So according to the Constitution, there are certain guidelines on what that person is. But the real attribute of a leader is one who wants to serve others.
Sure.
The service to the community, the basketball community, should be the foremost issue that we should be looking for as an attribute. These others, where a person is able to communicate effectively, ready to be held accountable. You see, it's one thing to vie for office. It's another thing to be able to communicate to the people exactly what you're doing. Sometimes there's a disjoint where you vie for office, get into office, but you are aloof. Your phones are off and people can't communicate.
You're not ready to communicate to the stakeholders.
Yes, the same persons that actually brought you into office.
Sure. Yes. Let's talk about transparency. How important is transparency in these elections, especially for this year?
ZBA, in my time, performed the transparency function through providing audited accounts. We were recognized by the National Sports Council as one of the only two institutions at that time that consistently provided its audited accounts.
All right.
We appointed auditors prior at the AGM, and then when we presented our audited. But transparency is in this form. Most people have an idea or think there's huge amounts of money in sports. But what it is, it's really a thankless job. So when someone is transparent, they literally have to go out and provide guidance and feedback. So transparency is a two-way stream. It's not really just about churning out information. It's also receiving even criticisms, things that don't agree with even the policy that you've set forward.
All right.
Yes.
We do have incumbent, and we already have some position that is gone unopposed. Yes. And of course, we might have new people that will be elected on new positions. Yes. So now, after being elected, how should these leaders be held accountable? How are they held accountable? Because this accountability thing is one thing, even in your articles, it has been there as a chorus.
Yes. For every administration that comes into office, consecutively from the time I left, we've had a number led by capable persons. And the issue of how this is done is when a federation comes into being, or the office holders are brought into office, there is documents that speak to what they'll do. You have a strategic plan, you've got a development plan, you've got all these things. They've got indicators, they've got things and targets that you need to go. So when you present it to the council or to the affiliates, you are supposed to be able to then say, this is what we have achieved. These are the challenges that we have had, and this is where we're going. And this is normally done through AGMs. But this is not restricted to AGMs. As you well note, there was supposed to be an indaba for ZBF that was supposed to be held, and we were informed by the GS and of course the National Sports Council that this activity would have happened. For some reason, it has not happened. It doesn't mean that it should not happen. So it will happen. And from there, the mandate or
So meaning even after elections, it can happen?
I mean, if there are issues that basketball has to deal with, why should we forgo that issue? The idea is we need to be able to consistently provide feedback and also receive submissions. And in Indabas, that's one of the things that helps us to get where we are. We can also pull a leaf from other federations and what the benchmarks, the best practices that they have, which could also help basketball to also pick up and improve as well.
Great.
Yes.
All right. So we moving away from the elections. Let's talk about finance and sponsorship. So many sports federations do fail to actually secure sponsorship. Why is that?
Part of the reason is the economy that we have in Zambia is growing. there are a lot of successful developments around the growth of the economy. Industries are coming. We must also present ourselves to the corporates, the would-be sponsors, as a federation that can be trusted with programs that we will deliver on.
Sure.
Because there is a fixed term of office. I'm told is it 5 years? Yes. So what we need to be able to do is we need to deliver on those activities that we say we're going to deliver based on the financing. Now, there is a question as to say, how do you really get financing?
True.
Financing or funding, as most people call it, is in two ways. You can create partnerships with organizations that are not necessarily financing organizations. You can get to partnerships like in our time, we received considerable financing through Norwegian Paralympic Committee, and this was the Paralympic Committee is for persons, wheelchair basketballs and whatnot, but they funded quite a lot of programs that fed into many other youth programs, women's and whatnot. Sure. So those you can tag along on partnerships, but also. And this also is a challenge to the corporates in Zambia. They are able to sponsor music festivals and whatnot. Sport is an economic activity. So it is important for the corporates to be able to see the future of Zambia is healthy persons, because they sell products and they communicate and provide services. So that link between the persons is most likely found in a youthful population. Zambia's population is very youthful, and basketball is the fastest growing sport, according to me. And basketball is not just basically the sport, but it's also a lifestyle. From the shoes people put on, the jerseys, it's a huge industry. Matero Magic, for instance, which has got sponsorship around issues to do with that. Great. And other entities as well, even in the past, were sponsored. There's also institutional sponsored. I would ask to say, has ZBF looked at ZRA, for instance, as a sponsor in some of these things? Sure. And I'm told there was a tournament that was there. There's so many potential financiers for the sport. You need to segment. What are they sponsoring? The technical aspect, the developmental aspect. We have a huge segment of young women out there where we need to get them into leadership positions. I take note that amongst the very top positions, I can't recall a single time that a woman was vying for the position of president. Why?
Or even SG.
Why? So those are the issues that we need to start tapping into to be able to transition the sport, to grow the sport.
Great.
So this is an issue that is not peculiar to basketball. It's across the board. Okay. You just need organization, committed personnel, and maybe just a word to the new executive that will come in to reach out.
Okay.
My good friend Faz, president, recently had a committee of persons, Marcus Ascot and a few other people that he put together. Why cannot ZBA borrow from that to be able to get real competent persons in the financing sector to be able to help us develop the sport? We have activities that we know, national team requirements, and all those. So these are things that basketball should have ready. That's why it's key for office holders like the technical coordinator's position, and these key positions that we have to be able to harness those possibilities.
So in this case, how should finances be managed in order to build trust among stakeholders?
Every organization must have what is called a strategic plan. From the strategic plan, those issues would have already been identified, and it would be clear as to how the approach around the financing issue comes about. I'm aware that ZBF has got a strategic plan. How is it being monitored? How is it being evaluated? So there are these documents that sit, maybe, they look good, you attend workshops, but they must speak to processes. So for me, I believe there's a lot of progress that we've made as a federation. We have transitioned, obviously, from ZBA to ZBF. We need to pat ourselves on the back, because have we shrunk basketball? It is growing. But are we responding to the realities of basketball? What are the gaps in terms of getting our athletes at the elite level? you know, playing at levels. We are told on social media we have players that are playing in Europe, playing elsewhere.
Yeah.
But is the federation able to bring these persons for national duties?
Exactly.
So this is one of the key areas that corporate partners will be keen on, because those are brands where they're going.
Sure.
Why aren't the brands here? And some are doing a lot of big things in other parts of the world.
Exactly.
So this is precisely, we are not seeing enough of our own successes, maybe.
You've even brought me to development. So what structures should be put in place in order to have grassroots get to the elite level?
Truly and honestly, the first point is at the very lowest level, at adolescent level.
Sure.
You must be able to introduce every child. Not every child in Zambia will play soccer. I laugh when I say that basketball is an intelligent person sport because we get timeouts and we do subs. You can't have 22 people chasing one ball for 90 minutes and say it was a good game. We score every time. So for me, I'm coming from a soccer background. I played soccer and all that. But the basketball would require a certain level of commitment at the grassroots level. Schools are important.
Great.
The curriculum of sports in Zambia, how far has basketball incorporated its activities in the school curriculum?
In the school, yes.
So we need to be talking to education. We need to be
and
talking
that is through the federation.
It starts with the federation. The federation must have it as a policy and as a strategic goal to be able to get there. You know, similarly, you have elite sports like swimming. Not every person has got a swimming pool at their house, but we are able to produce world-class athletes who are swimmers. So why can we not do it for basketball?
Are we doing enough, Mr. Musuka, when it comes to developing coaches, referees, and administrators? Are we doing enough?
For me, I would look at what are the pathways. You know, by this I mean to say, how do you develop a coach? How do you develop a player? Where does it start from? Because you have to initiate it. You have to have a tracking system. So this is what you call development plans. ZBF has had a 10-year development plan. How far have we implemented?
Great.
What have we evaluated from that development if it didn't go through? So these are some of the areas of focus as we do this. Now, basketball development is not an event. It's a process.
Sure.
So every successive administration builds on others.
Great.
This is why it's always important to take dinosaurs like me and then others who are out there to say, what can you suggest?
True.
Because there's a reservoir. Basketball's main resource is its former players. Before you build a basketball court, there is a person that must go and play. Before you get to ask for finances, there's a person who is in the corporate sector. He might not be looking like an athlete, he might look like something like me, but is able to provide some guidance. And it's just the federation's role is to interface.
Great.
It should be able to do so.
Just last week we saw our Kuksa teams go to Botswana, and for basketball, our boys came out with silver. Then our girls, luckily, they came out with gold. So that means when it comes to universities and colleges, basketball is speaking a very good language there. So now, what should universities and schools do to actually develop the game as well?
Maybe the question would be, what should ZBF do to harness this great success?
Sure.
Is this a ZBF program? So, in short, the Kuksa arrangement is for colleges and universities. I was fortunate enough to have gone through that system when I was with the Pacers. And one of the things that is key in some of these issues is the organization level. The organization level at Kuksa level is quite high notch. And I note some of the persons that were there. You know, they are still probably in office, and I was a player then.
Sure.
So it means that there's something working there. So the synergy between the federation and what I would rightly term an affiliate, the Kuksa, it should come together to be able to get that. So at this level, At Cooksa level, our women are getting gold medals. What about at national team level? Are these the same players playing in the national team? How are we performing at zonal level? In whichever zone that we're in, how are we performing at under 16, 20, and at the senior level?
Right.
So these are the questions. Where is women's basketball if they're getting gold? So these are the challenges of leadership. This is what we need to be able to provide to the federation.
All right, now it brings me to media and coverage. How important is the media in growing the game of basketball?
I would say that without media, basketball would not be where it is.
Sure.
So it is important to develop policies directly that interface with the media. I see your organization and other organizations,
Zambia Basketball Showcase.
Zambia Basketball Showcase, that have done that. I have been away from basketball physically, being at the court, but the highlights that you were bringing got me to a level where I would comment on issues. So ZBF must have a very deliberate media policy that engages the media across. There are state-run media, there's private media. You need to have a very clear policy that interfaces with them, and there's a support out there from if imagine the fixture was there, it was done. We're looking at Bolabet, for instance, with Magic.
Sure, yeah.
So if the fixture was done properly, and this is credit also to those people that were doing fixtures. So if it's done at that level, you are able to broadcast that.
Sure.
Wouldn't we do what they were doing with Super Sports and MTN when they did the Fuzz League? It can be done for basketball. There's enough of basketball to have coverage.
All right. Yeah. So let's talk about platforms like Zambia Basketball Showcase. What role are they supposed to play for them to at least promote transparency and grow the game?
Such as this, you're asking the right questions. So the issue is the media play a very critical role in the development, national development. And sports is just one of those aspects.
Sure.
So the media must be able to have information readily available to them. They must be able to interface with the executive members if and when they need questions to be answered and asked. So where the federation requires to communicate, remember I did mention the issue of accountability. They should normally come before you and explain themselves in these issues. Yeah.
All right. So as we continue to talk about governance, all right, let's talk about what you really, you've mentioned things that you're really proud of, but what is that something that you think you can look back at and say, we actually did this and we are good?
I think the current ZBF competition rules and regulations were a brainchild of that executive. And what happened is that we were privileged for FIBA to send an expert, Mr. Owino, from Uganda, who came and supported us with developing those. And we started the drafting of a constitution as well.
Sure.
And I don't know how that process went thereafter because we left office.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So we've had really a lovely talk right here. There's so much to learn from. And even if time might not be our greatest highlight right now, but in closing, I would love to finally just find out the message that you have out there for the coaches, the administrators, the fans, and every other stakeholder in basketball.
For the players, firstly, because they are the ones that are the face of the basketball in Zambia. Conduct, commitment, focus is very important because basketball could be a stepping stone. Beyond basketball, we hope that the contribution of those athletes and organizations to basketball is necessary. I would like to see more youthful representation in the executives. And, I'll just give an example of the the two front runners as the two candidates for presidency.
Sure.
These are my peers, the colleagues I know. They're my brothers, and I played with them, against them, and you can imagine they're in the executive now.
Sure.
But if we have as many women, as many youthful persons joining the administration of sport, we would actually get a lot more input on the realities of what basketball should be. And of course, young people have innovations, fresh ideas, and this is really important. I always emphasize the fact that I myself, when I became General Secretary, I should have been the youngest General Secretary at that time. And I think from that time, there's a transition. You transition when you leave.
Sure.
I'm not vying for office, but I would also tell the candidates that are there, conduct transparent campaigns, make sure that you present yourself, sell yourself, but mostly put basketball before affiliations and these connections.
Sure.
That's what I would say. And we're looking forward to the renewal and the development of basketball with either new or old members. Sure. It's up to the affiliates to basically vote wisely and vote according to where they want basketball to be.
All right. So the affiliates, there you have it. Vote wisely and where you want to see basketball in the future. Mr. Otema Musuka, thank you so much for according us this time and making us know more about the governance of basketball.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. There you have it. That was Mr. Otema Musuka right here on Inside Z Basketball. Remember that Inside Z Basketball comes through every other Friday, so look out for another edition of this type of a show right here, powered by BMTV. My name is Kasuli, and bye-bye.
Welcome to Inside Z Basketball Show, where Zambia's game takes center court. From the biggest highlights to the locker room talk, we bring the heat, we bring the heart. This is the whole